Hi, I'm Chris, and together with Massa, Jacob, Barat, Tommy, Nick, and Stephen, we are Team FlagLand. Originally, we were two groups, but then due to reasons that we will explain later, we've become one. FlagLand is a geolocation app game based on one key rule, really, to introduce a bit of fun into everyday life, whether you're commuting to work, walking the dog, going for a run, or you've just got some spare time to kill. Originally, we wanted to make a digital version of Where's Wally, where one person would be on and lots of people had to find them, but then very quickly realized that sharing someone's location with a group of strangers kind of had quite a few security risks, so quickly changed to base a game on Capture the Flag. Our MVP had three main features. First was that a user could register and log in. Second, that they could capture a flag. And third, that they would be able to drop that flag off to gain points. Over the 2 weeks, we've managed to add a few other features in, and I'll now pass you over to Massa, who'll talk you through how the app works.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Let's have a look at FlagLand's demo. So before you start to play the game, you need to log in. You need to create an account. You give your name, username, and password. And the app has an indicator which shows how strong your password is. After you register, you'll be navigated to the main map, and the app has generated a red flag within 100 meters radius of your location. The app has two sidebar menus. This one shows your details, score, how far the flag is, and how many flags you captured so far, and the logout button. On the other side, you have leaderboard, which shows other players' scores. So the idea of the game is the same as Capture the Flag game, if you are familiar with. And this video was filmed by Chris while he was outside playing the game. So it's not a simulation. Once you are within a 20 meters radius of the flag becomes green. And once as you see, flag distance is 16 meters. Once flag is green, you are able to click on it. You can capture the flag, and you get 5 points. And immediately, app generates a zone for you, which you can go inside that zone, and you drop off the flag to get more points. And once you get in the zone, immediately, app generates another red flag for you if you wish to continue the game, if you wish to continue to play the game. And otherwise, you can use the sidebar menu to log out. Jacob's going to explain about which technologies we used and why we chose them. Thank you.
Hello. Since we were merged from a group of 4 to a group of 7, we wanted a database that we could easily change and make it flexible and scalable. So we decided to use a Mongo database. So we hosted that in MLab, and then obviously we connected to that with Mongoose. So in the database, we're storing passwords. So we wanted to encrypt the passwords so that even we couldn't see what your password is. So we used Passport for that. So it encrypts it into a salt and a hash, so we can't see it and no one can see it, and then it will authorize the user with the username and the password so that you can be authorized to use that account. So we wrote the backend API with Node.js and Express, and we decided to host that on Heroku because we've used it before and it's really simple to use. So in the front end, we wanted it on a mobile app. So we wanted it to be cross-platform so we could use it on Android and iOS. So we used React Native for that. And with React Native, you can use Expo. So we use that for testing the app. So on your laptop, you can run an emulator. So in real time, you can test how it works. On Apple Macs, you can use Android, but we found it a bit more difficult with that. And then you can download Expo onto your phone, and you can scan a QR code, and then you can test it on your phone that way. So we can do that with Android, but due to Apple laws, it's a bit more difficult to do it on Apple. So at the end, we'll have a QR code if you wish to download Expo and test our app. So we used Expo as well because it had lots of APIs in it. So to get the geo-location from the phone, we used the Expo API. We looked into other ways, but they were a bit more difficult. We'll come on to that a bit later. And so we also hosted the final production on Expo, which was really nice and easy. And to get the actual map, we used React Native Maps, which comes with React Native. So that was nice to use. I think we're going to come up to the challenges we're faced with Tommy.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges we faced while making FlagLand. As you can imagine, with a project like this, we did face a fair few challenges. I'm not going to go into detail about all of them right now, because I assume you all want to go home at some point today. But a few of them are up on the board here, and I'm just going to talk about like the main things. So I'd say the main thing is just because obviously all of the tech that we're using in this is all completely brand new to us. I think everything apart from maybe MongoDB was completely new to us. So a lot of it is just finding out the stuff that you need to use to make it happen, and then testing it out and making sure that it is actually usable. And I'm super glad we actually took the time to do this, because I think we spent about 3 days perhaps at the beginning of our project not even writing any usable code. It was all just reading documentation and spiking and making sure that we could actually use it. And this worked to our advantage because we found out very early on that some of the things that we thought we were going to use and we intended to use actually were quite terrible and didn't work at all. So luckily we found that early enough that we could find alternatives and go down a different route. I'd say the only big surprise, well, it wasn't really a big surprise, but the only kind of challenge that we had that was a surprise to us was perhaps the navigation of the app. I think really what it was we just didn't really think about it until we were quite late on into our project. So we'd built the login screen, we'd built the register screen and the main map, and we just hadn't really thought about how we're going to get from one screen to the other, because we kind of just took for granted it would be like a web app and you just wrap a link tag around something and it would be fine. But that's not the case with React Native. You have to put a navigator in there. And then that meant that because the navigator sits at the top of the app, we had to restructure our whole thing. Wasn't really too much of an issue. It wasn't hard. It was just a bit of a pain. And then when it came to pushing it up to GitHub and merging it with everything, it kind of, well, it was horrendous. We spent a long time manually merging everything. So I'd recommend, if you're going to use React Native, maybe start with a navigator. It's probably a good idea. Okay, I'm going to pass you over to Nick, where are you? Over there, to talk about the things we wish we'd had time for.
Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you for coming out. So I think we can all agree that as a team, we built quite a great product in the short amount of time that we had. This was all built in 2 weeks, and I think we can pat ourselves on the back for that. So if we had more time, we would like to implement quite a few other possibilities within this. So the first one would be multiple flags. At the moment, it's one person collecting one flag, going to a base and dropping it off. Maybe we could get them to collect multiple flags. Maybe we could get different flags for different points, and the different flags at different points have different flag getting different colors. The next one would be multiple users. Again, the game is simply one person collecting one flag and going to a drop-off zone. We could have one person going with getting a game with their friends, getting a leaderboard with their friends, so you're competing within your friendship group. And I think the main one was the enabling of regeneration of a flag. So at the moment, the flag gets generated within a 100-meter radius of your user's location, which can put you in some uncompromising, unfavorable situations. So you could get a flag getting in the middle of a road, middle of a train tracks, maybe a private land, maybe in the house of your ex, who knows. So it would be good, it would be great to regenerate that. Also have achievements, like a COD-style achievement. So you get awards for getting 20 flags, 30 flags, 40 flags, etc., you name it. We've also, at the moment, it's just 100 meters from the user. If we could maybe increase that or decrease it, depending on how much time you got, on how long you want to play the game, maybe add more points for longer distances, we'd want to implement that as well. And there's also one more thing we'd like to talk about, and I'll hand that over to Steve.
Thanks, Nick. So I wasn't actually as involved in the project as I would have liked, because the day before we started, my baby arrived 3 weeks early. So So everyone here has been very accommodating and very flexible. And in return, I've tried very hard not to be one of those annoying parents who insists on telling everyone all about their child. And I don't think I've once mentioned how tired I am. And instead, I've tried hard to be productive. So one thing that, as a group, we wanted to look into was storing user profile pictures, which could have come in handy if we'd implemented a multiplayer mode in the game. So I looked into this, and we quickly realized that storing pictures wasn't really an option in Mongo because of file size limits. So we looked into storing pictures in Google Firebase. So you can actually upload the picture from the front end into Firebase and then pass back the location in Firebase of the image back through to your back end and to your database, so the images can be rendered in the front end in the future. So all that sounds simple in practice, but in reality turned out to be a bit more complicated, perhaps because I'm quite tired. I don't know if I mentioned that. So we never kind of fully implemented this within the project, but we did have a working proof of concept where a user can upload any image using the file picker, any baby picture that they want, really, to have as their profile picture, and then that gets stored into Google Firebase. So that's me. I think I'm off for a nap, and Bharat's going to sum up.
Thank you, Steve. So, to achieve our target as a team, we communicated effectively. We use Slack channel, Trello for task management, GitHub for version control. And in addition to that, we had daily stand-ups, so we could make sure everyone was on the same track. And finally, pair programming was really useful to understand each other and share knowledge. Thank you very much for listening. We are happy to answer any question you may have. And also, you are free to download our app, but don't forget to download Expo first. Thank you very much for your guys.